Welcome to Malifaux University. 621. Story Scenario, All Hallows Eve. Many nations on Earth don't celebrate Halloween and may not be familiar with it. This holiday falls on October 31st each year and may be rooted in pagan superstitions, but now is a celebration of scary stories, costumes, and candy. The name itself is a derivative of the ancient event known as All Hallows Eve, which some cultures believed was a night in which the spirits of the dead and other evil forces walked the face of the earth. People made lanterns and offered tributes of food to ward off these evil spirits, hoping to survive the night in peace. This is a special story scenario that doesn't use victory points, strategies, or schemes. You can download the scenario from the link in the notes below. Like other story scenarios, most of the setup is predetermined and designed specifically for the scenario. One player is the attacker and has only one model, the Carver. The defender has a crew of just 3 models: Newsies, Showgirls, Low River Monks, or Bultungen. If you don't have these models, just proxy them in with other models and make note of which model goes with which card. Just understand that proxy doesn't mean substitute. You proxy a model by placing another model on the table and pretending it's a different model. I might put 2 Beckoners and Gwyneth Maddox on the table in place of 3 Showgirls, but they count as Showgirls for the game. Since this is a special scenario with preset crews, neither crew has a leader with 3 actions. All models take just the regular 2 actions and bonus action. This scenario doesn't have a turn limit and will just keep going until one side wins. With only 4 models on the table, that's not so bad though. Also, each player has a maximum hand size of just 3 cards. The scenario doesn't say it explicitly, but you'll flip for initiative each turn like normal, but neither crew will gain or use pass tokens in this scenario. What makes it more interesting is that the Carver is immortal and cannot take damage, while the defender's models get to respawn when they're killed. Lastly, you need to create 8 power tokens and 9 death tokens. Set up the table as normal with the usual amount of terrain. The spookier you can make the table look though, the better. Be sure to discuss the terrain with each other so you understand what's impassable, hazardous, severe, and whatnot. This scenario uses corner deployment, but before you deploy, the attacker places 4 strategy markers, 1 in each table quarter. They don't have to be centered in the quarters, but they cannot be within 12 inches of one another. As the attacker, you want to make these markers as hard for your opponents to get to as possible. The strategy markers are 30 millimeters and have no terrain traits like height, blocking, or anything else. Easy printable strategy markers and tokens are available from the link to Wargames Vault in the notes below. The goal of the scenario depends on which side you're on. The attacker is trying to kill the defender's models until they're completely dead. The defender is trying to survive until 2 of the 3 models can escape the playing area. When you're the defender, your goal is to activate all 4 strategy markers and then escape through the attacker's deployment zone. A defending model in base contact with a strategy marker can take the interact action to then take a target number 13 willpower duel. If it passes, the defender places 1 power token on the marker. Nothing removes the power tokens, so don't worry about the attacker undoing this. There is also no consequence if the model fails the willpower duel. The models do not carry the power tokens, so any defender model can do this any number of times with any of the strategy markers. When the Carver kills a defending model, there are no power tokens to lose. Once all 4 strategy markers have 2 power tokens, all the defending models gain the trapdoor tactical action. To use it, the model must be within 4 inches of the corner in the attacker's deployment zone, and then it escapes the playing area. Just keep in mind this is an action. It's not enough to move within 4 inches of the attacker's corner. You have to get there and take this tactical action. The attacker, in the meantime, is trying to kill the defenders. When a defending model is killed, it respawns within 2 inches of a friendly model, heals 4, and gains a death token. A defending model can respawn until it has 3 death tokens. If a model with 3 death tokens is killed, it's completely dead. The attacker's goal is to kill at least 2 of the defender's models. Being just the one model, the attacker gets to activate twice per turn. You'll flip for initiative and alternate activations with the defender like normal, so it'll be up to you as the attacker to determine your best strategy in using your two activations. The cool part of being the attacker is that you ignore all damage you may suffer at the hands of the defenders. The Carver can still receive conditions and other game effects, but cannot have its health reduced. To balance out this invulnerability, the strategy markers affect the Carver. The Carver suffers a negative modifier to all duels taken within 3 inches of any strategy marker that has any power tokens on it. That does not increase with the power tokens or number of markers with tokens, it's just the 3-inch range and the 1 negative modifier. Being a special story scenario, each player has unique victory conditions. If the defender gets 2 models off the playing area using the trapdoor action within 4 inches of the attacker's corner, the defender wins. If the Carver successfully kills 2 defending models, permanently dead with no more respawns, then the attacker wins. Let's see this in action. 3 poor little newsies are trapped with the Carver and hoping to survive the night. The only ability on the newsies card that isn't automatically rendered moot by the scenario is Innocent Bystander, which puts a target number 12 on all the Carver's attack actions, possibly prolonging the newsies' lives. Frantic Flailing might be handy if the defender flips the tome or mask for the triggers, while Thrown Newspaper could be useful by giving the Carver distracted or forcing it to take a pointless interact, which would give the newsies focused through the Chasing a Story ability. There will be no corpse markers in this scenario, so the newsies will never use their bonus action. The attacker places the 4 strategy markers here, nestling them behind buildings to make them harder to reach. The defender deploys the newsies ready to run in different directions. The Carver wins the initiative flip and opts to let the newsies go first. With nothing else to do, the first newsie moves twice toward this strategy marker. The Carver moves twice, heading straight across the board. The second newsie bolts for the other distant marker. The Carver moves again, coming between the third newsie and the strategy marker in their quarter of the board. The last little newsie concentrates to gain focused, and then moves once, staying out of the Carver's 1-inch engagement range. In the next turn, the newsies win initiative. The first newsie reaches the strategy marker and takes the interact action. He now has to pass a target 13 willpower duel. He flips a 9, just making it, and places a power token on the strategy marker. The Carver charges the newsie closest to him. The newsie's focus helps, and it takes both the Carver's actions to kill the lad. The model respawns at full health within 2 inches of the first newsie and next to the strategy marker, gaining a death token. That newsie now activates and interacts with the strategy marker. It fails the willpower duel, but passes on the second try. This strategy marker now has 2 power tokens and is finished. There is nothing else for the newsies to do with it, and the Carver can't do anything to undo it. The Carver spends his next activation getting to the 2 newsies, while the third newsie uses both his actions just reaching the other strategy marker. In the following turn, the Carver wins initiative and kills both the newsies with his breath of fire. They both respawn near the other newsie, both now with a death token. The newsies use all 6 of their activations interacting with the strategy marker and dealing with the willpower duels, eventually putting 2 power tokens on the marker, while the Carver heads back towards the center of the board. In the next turn, the newsies split up, with the least dead of them heading toward the Carver's deployment zone, and the 2 recycled newsies heading toward the marker nearest their deployment zone and the Carver. The Carver kills them both again, causing them to respawn near their untouched brother. One has 2 death tokens now, while the other has 3. In the following turn, they wrangle with the strategy marker, but succeed in putting only 1 power token on it before the Carver arrives and burns all 3 to a crisp. The one with the 3 death tokens is now permanently dead and is removed from the game. The others caught the blast from the Carver's attack and suffered only 3 damage and gained the burning condition. At the end of the turn, they both die from the burning condition in the order determined by the defending player. The one respawns with 3 death tokens next to the other, which then dies and respawns within 2 inches of the first one, now with 1 death token. In what is destined to be the final turn, the Carver wins initiative and immediately uses Breath of Fire on the crispiest newsie with the 3 death tokens. When it unavoidably dies again, it does not respawn, and the Carver wins the game, with 2 of the 3 newsies permanently dead. Let us know in the comments below how your game turns out when you play. That's the special story scenario, All Hallows Eve. Pick up a printable set of all the markers and tokens you need to play Malifaux in the Wargames Vault. If you haven't already, join our Patreon for early, ad-free access to all new content, and be sure to visit the Malifaux University gift shop for the latest in Malifaux-themed shirts, hoodies, drinkware, and more. Links are in the notes below. And remember, play friendly games, keep it simple, and have fun.